trophy is staying in Penrith.
How the West was won. Penrith dominate Parramatta to claim the NRL premiership for the second year straight. More than 120 people killed after a crowd stampede at a football match in Indonesia. Women and children trapped in Syrian detention camps since the fall of ISIS to be returned to Australia. And a South Australian Corgi honoured with a trophy donated by the late monarch herself. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Jo McDiarmid. The Penrith Panthers have won the NRL Grand Final against the Parramatta Eels 28-12. It was the first Grand Final where the two Western Sydney teams played each other. Kathleen Calderwood filed this report from Penrith HQ.
Energy here at Penrith HQ has been electric. The fans erupted at the very first try the Panthers scored, and to be honest, they didn't spend a lot of time in their seats for the rest of the game. After winning the grand final, Nathan Cleary, the co-captain, acknowledged the fans here at the Panthers Leagues Club. So here's some reaction at the end of the game.
It feels amazing. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Travelled all the way down from Foster to be here tonight. So yes, very, very proud of my boys. Very happy.
I'm feeling amazed. Just the best game I've ever watched. Battle of the West Grand Final.
We were there in 2003. We went through COVID, running down the street. It's amazing achievement for the boys. We're so proud of them.
Now, this was actually the first time ever that the two Greater Western Sydney teams, the Parramatta Eels and Penrith Panthers, had met in an NRL Grand Final, and there was some trepidation here because this season, despite Penrith's dominance, this is the second premiership that Penrith has won in as many years and the fourth in the club's history.
First, it was millions of customers. Now the federal government says it's been left on hold, waiting for critical information about the major data breach at Optus. The telco has been told to step up its handling of the cyber attack, which has seen the personal details of Australians potentially compromised.
More than a week after the Optus cyber hacking was revealed, the telco's customers still have more questions than answers.
The email was very generic, I found, and I learned a bit more about what they would do for me by just watching the news.
It's our savings, lifetime savings that's at stake.
I'm worried because I should be able to have my privacy, you know.
We feel insecure.
The federal government is calling for Optus to step up its handling of the major data breach.
An email is simply not sufficient under these circumstances.
The government contacted Optus on Tuesday, asking for the details of all affected customers whose Medicare and Centrelink information was leaked, but the company has failed to hand over the data.
The Australian government is doing everything it can to prevent Optus's mistake and their breach from turning into widespread financial crime.
And if we know who the affected people are, the Optus customers, then we can at least red flag if there's an attempt.
Optus has told the ABC it's still gathering information, adding it's working constructively with governments and their various authorities to reduce the impact on our customers. Experts have warned other phone and internet providers not to be complacent.
If it was a simple attack, could that simple attack approach be replicated against other telecommunication companies?
Change could be coming, whether telcos like it or not.
We do not have the right laws in this country to manage cybersecurity emergency incidents, and this is something that we are going to need to look at.
For now, expect to see more queues for new passports and licences. Evelyn Leckie, ABC News.
The Attorney-General has put federal politicians on notice, warning their encrypted text messages could be intercepted by a National Anti-Corruption Commission. The watchdog will also have the power to raid government departments without notice. And the opposition is calling for clarity about how sensitive and classified information will be protected.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Hearings will be held in
order. Mr. Speaker, we have a precedent.
That is not a point of order.
After years of debate, the extent of a National Anti-Corruption Commission's power is becoming clear.
I think everyone needs to watch out.
with confirmation that encrypted messages sent by senior ministers could be subject to surveillance.
Interception is available. We don't want corrupt activity infecting our system of government.
The Commission could also raid government departments, including Defence, without a warrant, collecting and storing sensitive and potentially classified information.
That will make it a very attractive intelligence collection target for foreign intelligence services. Frankly, I would rather they don't hold any sensitive information like that at all.
The minister responsible for Australia's intelligence agencies says that's a risk that can be managed.
I think the way the National Integrity Commission is set up is going to be very mindful of the very important data that it may have access to, but I've got confidence that the government can do this properly and do it appropriately.
With opposition support looking likely, some of the scandals Labor highlighted in opposition, including so-called sports rorts, may escape the Independent Commission's inquiry.
That looked pretty corrupt to me, but it's not going to be my decision. This is not an exercise in political payback.
Bipartisan support for a National Anti-Corruption Commission will ensure its ongoing existence and funding, addressing the Coalition's concerns about the storage and protection of classified or compromising information could be crucial to locking that in. Henry Bello, ABC News, Canberra.
The federal government is preparing to bring dozens of women and children currently in detention camps in northeast Syria to Australia. Preparations are underway to assist more than 20 women and over 40 children who have been in the camps since the Islamic State militant group was defeated in 2019. Australian officials visited the camps earlier this year to verify the identities of the women and children. A spokesperson for Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill says any government decision is informed by national security advice. Indonesia authorities have revised the death toll from a stampede at a soccer match in East Java from 174 to 125, saying some victims were counted twice. Most were trampled to death after police fired tear gas to stop riots by frustrated supporters of the losing team.
Fans from the home team stormed the pitch after the final whistle. Their team from Malang narrowly lost the match to their bitter rivals from Surabaya. Police fired tear gas to break up the riot, causing panicked fans to flee. Hundreds ran to the exit and some were trampled to death, others suffocated. Police were seen kicking and beating people with batons as they tried to run off the field. Dozens died at the stadium, scores more on the way to hospital or during treatment. Hundreds have been injured, some critically.
The security team moved in to prevent people getting onto the field or interacting with players. Tear gas was fired because it had become anarchic. They started attacking officers, they damaged cars.
The stadium was packed, over capacity by about 4,000 people. Indonesia's football authorities have suspended top league matches for at least a week and launched an investigation. Police conduct will come under scrutiny over the use of tear gas at the stadium, which is banned by the sport's world governing body, FIFA.
I regret this tragedy, and I hope this is the last tragedy to occur in Indonesian football. We cannot have any more in the future.
Riots at soccer matches aren't unusual here, but the scale of this disaster has shocked Indonesia. The Sports Ministry will now re-evaluate safety at matches and is even considering banning spectators. Anne Barker, ABC News, Jakarta.
Australia has slapped a fresh round of sanctions on a number of key Russian officials. The move is in response to Moscow's annexation of 4 Ukrainian regions, but Ukraine has just recaptured a key town in the area. Europe correspondent Steve Kinane reports from Medica on the Ukrainian-Polish border.
Ukrainian troops celebrate their victory. The bastion of Liman recaptured, with Russia forced to retreat. This is a humiliating defeat for Moscow. Liman is a key city for Russian supply lines and lies in the Donetsk region, one of the 4 areas that President Putin had just illegally declared to be now part of Russia.
For the enemy, there will be many more such missteps, and they've already started on each other. They're looking for culprits, blaming generals for the failures.
Liman is
significant. Absolutely, it's significant. We're very encouraged by what we're seeing right now.
The Russians are trying to downplay the defeat, instead focusing on its new recruits. But these soldiers are inexperienced compared to those already losing ground on the battlefield. 100 kilometres north of Liman, Russian forces attacked a convoy of civilians trying to flee to safety. Ukrainian authorities say at least 24 people were killed. In Zaporizhia, flags are flying at half-mast for the more than 30 victims of a similar deadly attack a day earlier.
The attack was horrendous. There should be severe punishment when children and civilians are killed in this way.
For these residents, this war has no end in sight. Steve Kinane, ABC News, Medica.
In the NRLW, the Newcastle Knights have beaten Parramatta in the grand final to claim their first premiership. In front of a record crowd of almost 43,000, the Knights were victorious, 32 points to 12. One of South Australia's top corgis has been crowned in a competition with ties to the late Queen Elizabeth. Short in stature but giant in nature, the most majestic corgi is honoured with a trophy donated by the monarch herself.
Corgis are Kitty Flynn's greatest passion.
I just love their personality and they're very adaptable.
The 82-year-old is a previous winner of the Queen's Trophy for purebred corgis, awarded annually at the Adelaide Hills Kennel Club's championship show. It was donated 40 years ago by Queen Elizabeth herself in memory of her friend and fellow corgi breeder Thelma Gray, who lived in South Australia in the 10 years before her death in 1985.
There is no other club, dog or horse of any description, that has had anything from Her Majesty. It's purely a personal gift between Her Majesty and Thelma.
Judging for the trophy is all about proportions, head shape and tail length, as well as movement and colouring. But it's the corgi's typical happy demeanour that enthusiasts love most.
They will try and take over the household if you let them. But they can also be lounge lizards.
Breeders believe there's already been an uptick in interest in corgis since the Queen's death last month.
You fall in love with the dog, I think, a breed, and if you generally love the breed, you don't swap and change.
Not all winners, but all adored. Isabel Damon, ABC News, Adelaide.
And that is the latest from ABC News. Remember, you can keep up to date at news.abc.net.au and on ABC iView. I'm Jo McDiarmid. Thanks for watching.